Hi, in this video I want to document a few problems and I think unacceptable design choices on this Fongers Cargo 2 Plus, which I've had for a couple of months. I've got some notes here, handwritten notes, which I'll use. The long and the short of it is that the bike itself, it seemed like a good choice. It compares in many ways quite well to other cargo bikes. But I think there's some serious problems with this, and I would like to document them. So you'll notice we currently have a flat tyre. That's a little bit of a recurring theme. So from the back, the rear tube has split. I've seen a lot of bicycle tubes. They don't often have faults, but this rear tube is clearly quite poorly made. That means the rear tyre's flat and a patch was insufficient to repair it. The front wheel also went down sort of by itself. So the rear tube is not punctured from the outside, it's just deflated because it's split itself. The front tube was fitted with a twist in it, so it also went down. I took it off and refitted it and repaired it. The rear brake is the next thing, quite a big issue. The rear brake has been fitted using self-aligning cup and cone washers. It's obviously not really suitable with this particular brake adapter because, as you can see from the wear on the disc there, you might be able to see from this angle, but I'm not sure. The pads are not contacting all of the disc. In fact, not really most of the disc, especially on the rear for some reason, possibly something to do with the actual brake, the quality of the brake caliper. That's the pads pivoting, something like that. But yes, the pads are partially off the disc, and when they finished wearing like that, they will begin to contact each other before clamping the disc, so that's no good at all. The lock, the choice position for the lock means that you can see the key is bent. This one, that's because it's right next to your foot. Your foot absolutely is going to hit that. So the keys get bent from the lock position. Next thing, handlebars. So in this particular configuration, the handlebars end up here. If anybody's sitting on the seats, their heads are going to be directly above the seat. So the handlebars are going to hit everybody's head, or the brake levers, the front part of the brake lever is going to hit everybody's head. That happens all the time. That's really quite a problem when they're riding in the front. Now we come to a problem which sent the bike back already once. The stand. Stand has a big wide pivot, you can see, but you can see a sort of contact pad there. The stand actually is stopped by hitting this bar in front of it here. If it was to move further to the left of the screen, it would hit that bar. So in other words, that stops it from moving further into the deployed position. So the point is, when you use the stand, you flip the stand down and roll the bike onto the stand. You pull it backwards until it hits the end stop. That's how it's going to work because of the design of the stand, and it's bent it already badly. One of these was replaced because when you support this bar from the sides with a big pivot but stop it from the middle, the centre point of this stand where that plastic pad is fitted, actually from hitting this bar on the other side, it hit it so hard it deformed it. So the stand became bent and was dragging on the ground. While we're here, we can see the biggest problem, which is the steering, at least for me as a user, the end stop on the steering. When you steer, this thing will contact the end stop here. The steering is, works normally, feels good, otherwise it's moves smoothly, but then it stops with no warning whatsoever. So there's no progressive stop, there's no friction or squashy thing or something, bump stop. So what this means is, as you try to do a sharp turn, especially like a U-turn, you steer, and to perform a turn, especially on an e-bike where the assist is going to come on, you have to lean slightly into the turn. So you're leaning into the turn. I'm leaning the other way here because this bike's leaning over. You're leaning into the turn. Suddenly, the handlebars stop moving. Your weight is off balance. Your weight is over here. So what that means is, especially with the motor kicking in, you will just crash. You will off balance suddenly into the ground if you're trying to make a sharp turn and you hit the end stop. I have to say I haven't researched all the other ways we could do this exactly, but I mean, even a big soft bumper would allow you to feel you were coming to the end stop and dismount. But in this case, we've actually crashed the bike, I think, multiple times, resulting in significant damage at this point, all over the bike. And the kids have been, shaken up by us falling over. It's very heavy. I'm sure we could be slightly better, but the point is that it goes from turning to falling instantly, and so you will fall. The last thing from my little handwritten note is that the battery gauge has 4 figures on it, four segments on it, and it's complete fiction. So the battery gauge reads something like charged. It should say 75, 50%, whatever, but what it translates is fully charged, not fully charged, and then 10 minutes later it's low, and then it's in limp home mode. Quickly, while we're on the subject, some nice to haves. There's no quick release, front or rear, so taking the wheels off very difficult. The brake levers are actually, they're not quite outside the handlebars, but they're very, very close to the edge, which means they're going to get very badly damaged. So when it's hit the ground here, it doesn't hit the bars. You could replace this piece easily, but it's actually destroying the brake lever. This is very, very damaged. The bars themselves are very narrow, in my opinion anyway. Coming from even a sort of fairly reserved mountain bike background, they're very narrow. The brakes themselves perform poorly. The rear one could obviously be better, but the front one, they're just very, very budget calipers. And the levers or whatever, they just don't work well. And the front one is not very powerful at all. There's no chain tugs, so when I come to change take the wheel off, I'll have to carefully use this to pull the chain tight. There's nothing to hold it in place first before you do the wheel up. So it's missing chain tugs. Those would be nice. And the last thing is, I think the tyres are quite poor quality. They don't seem to be in any way puncture-proof. I haven't actually had a puncture from the outside, but I noticed they don't have a puncture-proof lining, which, seeing as you can almost not take the rear wheel off, that would kind of be appropriate. So, I have some other thoughts. We've done lots of kilometres with it, but we've had some really serious problems, and I'd like to document them. See ya.